Hey guys, thanks for listening to Kinda Dating, the comedy dating podcast, where influential guests and I break down the dating world and try to figure out why the fuck do we all have commitment issues? Today's topic is the only advice you'll need. Let's do this. Hello, Kinda Daters. I'm Natasha, Chandel.
I'm Aisha Holden.
Yeah, you're here.
Hey.
Hi, you look so cute.
Oh, thanks.
I feel like I'm not gonna bullshit. This is a different episode than you're probably expecting, because this is a see you later kind of episode. So, you know, I feel like if this was a relationship, I don't want to beat around the bush. I just want to get to the point. We had a lot of things happen in the last few months here, just life, LA, all that stuff. And we know we came back and we're like, yep, we're doing this again. But the fires happened in LA and it sparked a lot of conversations, especially between Luis and I about future and what we want, and you know, time is finite and all those things, and just kind of realized that there's not enough time to get everything done that we want. And when I personally took like an inventory of life and saw that, you know, with like a day job and trying to manage a relationship, I was like, it leaves me only with very limited time to work on other things. And so I had to realize that I think it might be time to step away from the podcast, which wasn't an easy decision. It's not like, I'm free. Right. It's very bittersweet.
Very.
And then I called Aisha, or I texted Aisha because we're not phone call people.
Some things don't change.
We still just prefer having conversations over text.
It's true.
Long conversations over text. Yeah. What was your reaction?
It was definitely mixed. There was sadness. There was some not total surprise. There was also, I want to say relief, but a little bit of, okay. But then there's also like a breakup. Wow, this, you know, how long have we been doing this? Almost 10 years now? Like,
girl, like, don't even say 10. I was like, don't round up with like age, but yes.
It's like one of the most constant things that I've had in my life. So it's, there's a lot.
8 years.
Yeah.
8 years.
It's a long time to be yapping.
I'm like, we grew up on this podcast.
It really did.
It's a very strange thing. And like, seriously, guys, it's not like an easy decision. Yeah. At least like for me, I can say, you know, when I first started the podcast, like we were working at Maker Studios. Like I wasn't writing. I wasn't doing a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now. I wasn't doing any of kind of the
same
on-camera stuff much besides regular acting. And then over the years, I became a TV writer, and you know, it's just there's a lot of work involved in that, and there are things that I want to do even with Kinda Dating, like some expansions of this that I just haven't had time because you're just kind of in this weekly grind of putting the podcast up, and people don't realize how much work that is.
It's so much work, y'all.
Yeah, and so you know, it was just like. It reminded me that you need a constant recalibration of life. And I remembered my dad would always tell me when I was a kid, he's like, you know, life isn't a train track. So you don't have to feel like you always have to go this one road. And I kind of, I remembered that during this phase where I was like, right. I know I said something, but your mind can change.
Your mind can absolutely change.
And it's hard, but at least we're communicating it, right? Like
it's a key theme.
No, it's hard because you think like, oh man, you spend so much time building something. Sucks to walk away.
Yeah.
And then you sent me an email. Aisha sent me an email that a talk show wanted to use one of our clips. And I was like, oh,
Of course.
after 8 years, you guys decided that we exist. No, it was just, it's just.
Go figure.
I got so many messages of the vision board episode, of people sending me their vision boards. And I was like, oh, people are listening.
I know, right?
So it always feels hard.
Yeah.
But actually, you know what's interesting? I was at a stand-up show the other day and I met the Sklar brothers, who are really big comedians, but they also are big podcasters.
Got it.
And they used to be at Starburns, where we were doing Kind of Dating.
Yeah.
And they had a podcast for 15 years.
15.
And they just retired it.
Wow.
And they felt the same thing.
Yeah,
so
sure.
at least like I was like, oh, okay, it does feel like you're, like like the emotions feel real.
Oh, yeah. Super.
That said, though, guys, like, want to make this a happier episode. And the reason we're saying see you later and not goodbye is because Aisha told me to.
I was like, oh, you never know.
I literally messaged her. I was like, should we say goodbye or should I just ghost everybody?
Yeah.
And then she was like, no, do a see you later. I was like, that feels like a good compromise.
Yeah.
Because yes, we can change our mind again.
We can.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Because I love like the way this is visually looking now. You know, it's like our own thing.
Yeah.
And
it's a cool flow. But
you know, when we become famous, guys, and we can just hire a giant team of people.
That's it right there.
We'll definitely be back.
Yeah.
But again, I do want to reflect and look back on things. And when you look back at the last 8 years of this podcast, like what kind of comes to mind for you?
Oh my gosh, so many things. First of all, I've learned so much. When we started this, I don't think I knew what like attachment theory was, love languages, any of that stuff. I was just kind of out here, you know, being a cool girl. And yeah, so not only did I learn a lot about myself and about just like love, relationships, humans in general, I also learned the technical stuff of like producing a show and putting on a show. So yeah, it's been really freaking cool to be a part of this experience for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that change, like when I think back of when we first started and me telling you this idea and being like, hey, do you want to like help out? And you were like, yeah, I'm game. And I was like, okay. And like not realizing what would come of it.
At all.
And, you know, you think of just fun, crazy experiences. Like I also just think of us as humans, like where we were on day one of this podcast, how much of life has happened.
Yeah.
You know, whether that was other relationships, like you think of natural disasters and fires and podcast studios closing down and team members coming and going. Yeah. And like the only constant has been you and I.
Us,
you know, from day one. And I just see like our growth, you know. I remember you as like a shy little, you know, Aisha didn't want to speak on the mic.
Yeah, it's true.
Very shy in the beginning and like, but I knew. And then one day you were like, I think I want to do stuff like on camera. And I was like, great, try the podcast. Because before that you were like just handling socials. Like you were taking behind the scenes social media videos and you were great at that and you still handle social stuff. But it's like, you know, seeing you come out of your shell.
Right.
You know, you came out on the podcast too.
I literally came out. Yeah, it's true.
Which is like crazy. And just like, you think of the people and it's like a weird time capsule. And I hope you guys feel that for yourselves who are listeners of this, to like think back to when you started listening to the podcast.
Right.
You know, I think there are some diehards who started 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And we love you so much. And I hope like you've seen like where you've come.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just like a weird thing. And then, I just think of like all the places we did LA Comic-Con.
That was so cool. That was really dope.
Know?
Yeah.
And then I think of like the cool guests we've had on the show.
Such dope guests. Yeah.
It's like a wild, like you just think, yeah, it's just a wild.
True. I mean, look at you. You were like very hard, very tough in the beginning, and now you're married.
Super soft.
She was against it. She was like, I ain't never doing this.
I know. Yes.
And now she's a wife.
I know. I think about the crazy shit I used to say at the start of this podcast. It was fun. I meant it at the time.
Absolutely. All of that was meant.
And then now I'm just like, yes. I'm like, man, I'm like grounded and shit.
Grounded. Yes.
Right?
That's real.
It's like a weird, and both of us in different ways.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It's cool to see. Do you have any like best moments that you think of?
Oh, there's so many good ones. If I'm thinking back to the beginning, I really liked when we had, this was probably one of our first ones, when we had the psychic on. I think about that all the time.
Really?
I really do. Because that was one of the first ones also.
Jill Willard, I think it was?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That was her. Because that was one of the first ones I was like on, I don't know if I was on camera, but on mic at the very least. Because she read
We
my
didn't
whatever.
even have cameras
Yeah,
back
that's
then.
right. Yeah.
It was just some audio
So
podcast.
that was cool.
That was when podcasts were easier, guys.
So much easier.
Instead of fucking video podcasts on top of all the work.
It's true. So that was dope. LA Comic Con, as you mentioned, was so freaking cool. I loved doing that.
But even LA Comic Con, like I remember, like, you know, people just don't realize all the work that goes into that. We were giving out flyers, getting people to try to come to the thing, and then it was packed.
Yeah.
And it turned into this wild like town hall episode
Q&A situation.
We were like, hey, this is not a two-way conversation here, but okay, if you're so into it, let's have you on mic.
We're doing that.
It was cool.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I mean, I remember just like being boots on the ground, giving out flyers.
Yeah, at Comic-Con.
And hosting the Meltdown Comics little booth. We were like hosting their little podcast booth for a bit. It was crazy.
Yeah. That was so dope.
I think of, because at this point, it's like the early episodes always hold like a very special place.
Sure.
I don't know why they kind of do.
It's the beginning.
Yeah.
It was a hope and a dream.
Yeah, maybe like the most growth took place then, you know, as humans. I think when we were first starting this, you feel you're learning along the way. And it was a lot of like, oh shit, I think I gotta fix stuff.
Whoa.
So there was a lot of heavy learning in the beginning parts of the podcast. But also I just think of all the guests and I think of how so many of them have blown up. You know, I look at Carlos Santos, who was on the podcast when he was just like an improviser, and then he was on Hentified, you know, and you think of Amy Aniobi, who was a writer on Insecure, who then became like a big showrunner. And then you think of, you know, I remember one Indian actor, Taha Shah, who's in like a hit show on Netflix now. And Prashant, who is Hassan Minhaj's like partner in crime, who's like a huge showrunner now, or authors who've been on who've blown up, or comedians. It's just it's cool.
It's
and
really
it was
cool.
they kind of came right before that.
Right.
And so maybe we're good luck.
Oh.
Maybe it's us.
Oh, I think it is.
Like we gave them the touch.
We're like,
you know, we anointed them to the world. And now it's our turn.
Right.
But yeah, I sometimes think of like the stories and the fun we had and the, you know, the wild dramas.
Yes.
On and off mic. I also have like a fond memory. Like I love the Rahul Rai's episodes. Those were some of my favorites. Just because like how, you know, what I loved is like the podcast allowed us to connect with people that we were also fans of.
Right.
And like Rahul, I remember liked one of my TikTok posts. And
Yeah.
that's how we became acquainted. And I was
Right.
like, what the fuck? This
Yeah.
giant like
This guy.
influencer likes my stuff.
Right.
And then we became friends. And then I got him on something else I'm working on. And then I was like, hey, do you want to be on this
Yeah.
podcast? And he doesn't do that often.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, sure. And it was so funny. It
Yeah, that
was
was
funny
great.
and fun.
Mhm.
And so when you get to do that with your friends sometimes, and then you get to make friends from the podcast, it became a really cool thing,
Yeah.
you know? And just like people knowing us from
Yeah.
the podcast, like getting like stopped on the street, or I told you I got stopped at the nail salon because
Yeah.
somebody said they recognized
That's
me.
so
And I
cool.
had no makeup on. I was like, oh my God. I'm embarrassed.
You're a real celebrity.
No, but it was cool. You know, some of those moments like you really remember and you go like, this is why you do it.
It's nice.
But I do want to ask you, like, what did you learn?
Oh,
As
my
you
goodness.
walk
What did I
away,
learn
at
so
least for a
much?
little while, who knows? If you look back, what were some of the key lessons you learned?
I think the like overall lesson is how to advocate for yourself, for myself, the importance of it, and this ties into, you know, being a people pleaser as well, being okay with people, you know, not being okay with that and letting those people go, and being confident enough to know, you know, the right people are going to understand what I need and, you know, what I want. So there's a lot of like small things in there, but if you wrap everything up into one, I think that's the main thing. Because when I think, again, back to when we first started, we were both coming off of breakups, I think, right? We were fresh off of breakups. And I was just like, another motherfucker did me wrong. Like, what is this?
Yep.
I think that was the last man I dated, actually.
I think it was.
As of now.
Yeah.
Things are happening.
Yes. Hey.
So yeah, I think at the time I was ready for a change, and I was ready to break that pattern of just like getting into these situationships, and I'm ending and not really understanding why. And yeah, this whole experience being on this podcast, talking to so many experts and so many just people who have been through life and relationships, it just started clicking.
I have always watched you absorb information.
Yeah.
Like I've seen you sitting with guests and like really absorbing.
Yeah. I'm like, oh wait, I'm supposed to talk, but I want to listen.
Yeah. And I've loved that.
Yeah.
Like, and I think seeing you value yourself has been amazing to watch, and like seeing you become more confident. And I remember the last time in an episode you came on and you were just like, I know I'm the shit. And I was like, yes, like again, guys, you don't, you know, for people who didn't listen before, you weren't like that.
Yeah.
Like you were, I think you always were confident with your friends, like when we went out and stuff like that. But I think that deep inner confidence, it was still very like suppressed, you know? Developed. And I could see you taking a sideline in a relationship. But now I just love that you're like active, like an active member and taking that control over your life, you know? Yeah, it's great. I think for me, the biggest lesson was that I'm the only, the biggest lesson was that I'm the only constant in my life.
Yep.
Right? And that things weren't happening to me. And when I realized that, it made me feel two ways. One, it stung because I realized, oh, wow, I have to take personal accountability for, like, I had to really reflect and look at where I was allowing things to happen.
Right.
Whether that was me being a people pleaser or not having boundaries and all of that. And so that was a big wake-up call to go, okay, I can't keep blaming everybody else. I'm the only constant in this relationship and in all my relationships. And then the second part was it was really empowering. And I realized I have control over my life. And these aren't things that are happening to me. And so if I make different choices, I can create different outcomes. And so when that gave me confidence and power and allowed me to, you know, it led me to where I am now, you know, to have met somebody like Luis because of applying all of that, over 8 years.
Yes.
So it takes time.
It takes time and work.
Yes. But I think the other big thing was that it's okay to grow, to evolve, and to be open.
Yeah.
Open to surprises.
Yes.
Because, I did not expect myself to be here.
I know.
Right?
It's so fun.
And you think of allowing yourself to grow, allowing yourself to change. I even remember being on the podcast and telling you, I think I'm done with hooking up.
Right.
I remember that moment for me happening and going but I allowed myself to evolve. And I think I even said on the podcast that, oh man, I'm worried about everybody knows me as the girl with the crazy dating stories. And who am I if I now don't want that?
Right.
And I realized but I'm not going to sabotage my happiness just to play a part for others, or to feed this narrative that I'm the cool girl or I'm the funny, crazy girl, and so I allowed myself to just grow and evolve. And you have, you chose different paths in life and you allowed yourself to do that. And then I think, the being open to surprises is going you never know.
You never know.
I mean, Aisha was in a 2.5-year relationship. That's a surprise.
Yeah, totally.
But that's also you being open.
Yeah.
Right? To going hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's shoot our shot.
Right.
And now for me, it's okay, this chapter of all right, I'm fucking married. What happens there?
Right.
Because that's the fun of life, right? What I'm grateful for is that we grew.
Yeah.
I think I would be really, really sad if we looked back
talking about the same shit
8 years from now.
Yeah.
And we're the same people.
Yeah, totally.
That would be really fucking sad. And I hope you guys, when you look at yourselves, also allow yourself to grow and change and be open to surprises. Because it's so fun.
It's so fun.
And it might work out. It might not work out.
Right.
But it'll be fun and interesting rather than playing it safe your whole life.
Right.
Ooh, I got a tough question for you. If this is our last episode.
Yeah.
What advice would you leave everyone with?
I think I would say that no matter how difficult or hard it is, you have to communicate. And this goes for literally any kind of relationship, especially a romantic one. But you really have to communicate also to yourself. You have to communicate what your needs are, what your wants are, who you are. You guys have to have conversations. And then you also have to be very honest with yourself with, is this what I want? Does this work with me? Is this puzzle piece fitting? So communication and honesty with oneself, I think, are the key pillars of getting through life.
Yeah, I love that. I think my advice would really push everybody, but I really want to say it. You know the answers. You know the answers, and just live it now. Live life, because I think you can read all the therapy books, you can listen to all the podcasts, you can talk to all your friends, but unless you make those changes in your life, nothing will change. You will just have an outlet, you'll vent, it'll feel good for a moment, but nothing in your life will change. Change only happens with you. So do it, and it starts with just following your gut. If somebody's not responding the way you want, or a relationship isn't feeling fulfilling, or, your needs aren't being met in certain ways, trust that feeling, communicate it, like Aisha's saying, and then whatever answer you get, make decisions from that. Don't just sit back, because I think everybody's looking for some magic, like poof, this is the one answer. And
Yeah.
the answer is you.
Yeah.
You are your answer for your own life. And, you know, because I've thought so much, I'm like, yes, we can keep going. We can keep going and give you stuff forever.
Yeah.
But if you don't go out and live it, it's not going to matter. And so there's those people, right? They have like thousands of self-help books, or they're in therapy for 15 years, but they're still
doing the same shit.
The same. I have a friend like that.
Yeah.
He's literally been in therapy 15 years, and he is the same person as when I met him in New York fucking 10 years ago before I came to LA. Like, same. Dating the same kind of people, getting in the same kind of drama, and that man's like 50. And I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And the truth is, we know the answer. Sometimes we don't want to hear it.
We don't want to hear it, yeah.
We don't want to listen to it, but you know it.
Yeah.
So like break out of this, like, you don't need us. You need us. Follow us on socials. No, I'm kidding. But you don't need us. You don't need anybody. Like, okay, you should go to therapy. But like, again, the idea that these are all, we're here to assist you.
Yes. Right.
To help guide you, to shine a little light. But you got to row the boat. You know, so, and I just feel like life is for living, you know, it's not for constantly just analyzing every piece of behavior. It's also like doing the things, and taking action and doing things that will make your life better. Yeah. Because if you're not content or happy, like, you have the power to be. So don't think that you are like complacent in your own life, or you know, have a backseat. You're not a passenger in your life. You are in the driver's seat. So if there's one piece of advice I would leave, is remember your power in your life and in your relationships, and have the courage to take the steps that you need to better your life.
Amen.
And that's my TED Talk.
Yes.
What's next?
That's a wonderful question. What is next? Well, you know, kind of like what you were saying, I'm also a creative. So not that the podcast was taking up that much time, but for me, just refocusing on my creative endeavors, which means figuring out my time just in life in general, and restructuring, reorganizing all of my things. So that I can refocus on my acting. I want to get back into writing, voiceover. So as far as like creative things, that's what I'm doing. But also making time, you know, to live, like you were saying, to live, to love, to laugh, to have a good time. It's going to be a rough couple of years for some of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially some of us who look like
the
this.
way we do. Yeah. And we got, we're letting this podcast go because there's no more DEI anymore.
Exactly. We're getting laid off.
Yeah, the podcast industry also decided.
Exactly. So for that reason, I'm really trying to focus on just my happiness. You know, whatever that means, whatever I need to chase to make sure I have that, that's what it is.
It's very true. I mean, there's so much of that also for me, and just going like, you know, interesting conversation Luis and I had were like, you know, we were talking about, because we've already decided, guys, about the, like, we don't want to move forward with the kids thing. It's just not for us.
Sure.
Never say never anymore. Gosh, knock on wood, but really not trying for that.
Yeah.
But even like getting in this rat race of like, oh, everybody says you need to get a house and you need to do this and you need to do that. And I was like, I don't want to live my life stressed out.
Right.
Like when I sell a TV show, yes, totally. It'll come naturally. But like, I don't want to do a thing because everybody's telling us to do a thing, you know? Yes. I want to travel and enjoy life, but also focus on creative stuff. So for me, it's like really diving deep into stand-up and my writing projects. Yeah. And I think both things just require a lot of time. And like stand-up happens at night. And like,
yes, it does.
I'm so exhausted when I, you know, if I have to do podcast stuff and then try to do that at night. So I just want to, my thing is like right now, I want to say, like if I died tomorrow, I want to know I shot my shots, you know, like, did I do it?
Yep.
And then I can just say like, okay, I tried.
Yeah.
And, you know, the chips fell wherever they did. But I feel good that I gave it my shot.
Yeah.
But I'm not feeling good because I haven't had time to give it my shot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, yeah. And I'm, you know, going to focus on Luis a little too.
Yeah.
That little man needs some attention sometimes. And we're also both in like this grind right now. So we haven't been spending like quality time. So we're really trying to like find that quality time and spend it together. So, okay. But before we go, what do we tell these guys?
What do we tell them?
You have anything to say?
Thank you so much for being here, for riding with us, for listening to our little show.
I'm trying not to get teary-eyed.
I know.
I'm trying really, really hard.
I was doing great.
I know. Luis was like, are you going to cry? And I was like, I don't know.
Never say never.
I know, right? Oh, don't cry. You're actually going there. I'm trying so hard to hold back. We don't need to, but yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys, you changed our lives. Mm-hmm. You changed my life because I think, you know, we did this podcast to help others, but then it's like you held us accountable. Like, are we?
Yeah.
Living and the, you know, the stuff that we're preaching. And so, I think just this whole episode of looking back and going like, wow, we really changed, is a testament to you guys. Yeah. It's because you were there with us and we felt the responsibility of that. And, I mean, seriously, like you've made me so much better. I realized over the years, I was like, maybe I'm being a bitch sometimes. So,
you just had a lot of walls up. A lot of shit happened.
You know, like be nicer and softer about things. And so all those changes came from you guys and hearing over the years, the messages, the reviews, all those things that we've gotten.
Yeah.
And just to know that we had any kind of positive impact on your life. I don't know how you feel, Aish, but for me, it's like I look back and I go like, yeah, that's a life well lived.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, what else can you ask for? You made somebody smile. You made somebody think. You made them make a better decision. You made them happy. That's a life well lived. So we got that opportunity because of you guys. So thank you for that. I don't even have tissues because I wasn't like...
That was a mistake.
Don't do it. No. All right. Well,
amazing. Well, and
you know,
we have to thank you, Natasha. This is your brainchild. You know, we would literally not be here if it wasn't for you. You're so cool. You're such a badass. You're so good at this. It's just been an honor.
Likewise, Aish, I would not be able to do this without you and just your support and, you know, constantly being my, like I've said it before, but the yin to my yang, you know, like when I'm the wild, crazy one, like who comes up with some harsh plan. She's like, let's think of it this way.
I hear that.
So, you know, I would not have been able to do this if in the beginning you didn't show some support for it because I didn't know what I was doing, you know, and just having somebody there to like be a ride and die over 8 years.
8 freaking years, man.
Now we'll just have to go back to being just friends.
I know, right?
But yeah, thanks, man.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, bitch, I still got your 6 questions.
Bringing it back, y'all.
This is our last 6 questions for a minute. So, Aish.
Yes.
Are you ready for your 6 questions?
I'm ready.
Okay. Let's see how much we've grown.
I know, right? I'm curious.
What is the first thing you notice about a potential partner?
The first thing I notice, it's hard to like qualify, but it's just like an aura. That's what the kids say. It's the aura. It's the vibe. It's just like the way the person like carries themselves, walks into the room, looks at me.
Hey, of course, they gotta have good eyes.
You know?
What is one deal breaker?
One deal breaker is combativeness. I am not here to argue. I don't want to fight. That's it.
Completely fair.
Sorry, it's not fun for me.
Yeah, 100%. What turns you on?
It turns me on so many things. Confidence. Just a confident motherfucker.
So true.
Hot as fuck.
So true. What are one of your strengths and one of your weaknesses in relationships?
I think this one hasn't really changed. Strength is I'm there. I love really hard. Yeah, that's it. I'm there. And weaknesses is I love really hard. maybe a little too much. Yeah, I have a tendency to put myself second. Which is something that I have been working on throughout these
You
years.
have.
But that will definitely still be my biggest weakness.
Yeah, but you have. You've really been working on it.
Yeah.
I love that. What is love?
Everybody's favorite. Oh, what is love? Love is, it's like this unspoken power. It's like a magnet. It just draws you to want to be with whoever it is wholly, and then accepting their flaws and loving them for their flaws and accepting them for basically all of them. But also not necessarily like just letting them go by, holding them accountable, holding them, to the candle, but like wanting to be there for that person's journey.
Yeah.
That's love.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Besides I love you, what 3 words would you want your partner to tell you?
I see you.
I think that's the same one that you had from before.
It might be. I can't remember.
I have a feeling that one was. That's great.
Yeah.
Has it changed a lot?
The I see you?
No,
Or
just generally your answers.
I think I remember the very first one being a lot more physical, like saying a lot more like physical features. Like I think I said shoulders, which is still true. Love some shoulders. But I think that one specifically has changed. What turns me on has changed. It's expanded.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed. It's expanded. I'll say that. What else? Yeah. I think those are the ones that have changed the most.
Yeah.
The rest of them are similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Shall we do you?
Okay.
I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up because I don't want to mess it up.
No,
Make sure
of
I have
course.
it. Okay. Natasha, are you ready for your 6 questions?
Ooh, let's do it.
Okay. What is the first thing you notice about a potential partner?
Yo, mine has not changed. I'm still a fucking vain bitch. Like,
Yes.
I love broad shoulders.
Yeah.
Like the
Broad
build.
shoulders.
You know, the build.
The build.
It's just the first thing I notice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still there.
I'm here for that. What is a deal breaker?
I don't think this has changed either. Cheating.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Very simple.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't get past it. I'm like somebody that's like,
Yeah. Done and done. Cut it out.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
What turns you on?
I think this has changed a little bit. I think now I can like define it better.
Word.
I think it's like, and I guys, I'm straight, so I'm just going to speak from that lens, but it's like a secure man, like somebody who's truly secure in themselves. And so it lends a different type of confidence, you know? It's like, it's not like hey, I'm just confident and walking in a room like
real.
fuck off. Like it's just like they're grounded, they know themselves, they respect other people. Like, man, that shit turns me on so much more now than somebody's looks.
Yeah. Real.
Or money or anything, you know? I'm just like, that man knows himself.
You know who you are, and I like that.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yes. I'm here for that as well. What are one of your strengths and one of your weaknesses in a relationship?
This has changed.
Okay.
I think before I said giving. I said, I'm so giving.
Yeah.
and that was my strength and my weakness.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, my strength is communication.
Nice.
I think for sure I know how to communicate in a relationship and, try to work out problems, all that stuff. My weakness now is I have a fiery temper, I am impatient, and so it's sometimes I'm just like, hey, can we just get with this? Like, why are we still talking about this? Like, let's either move on or whatever. Like, do this, don't do this. And I'm trying to, and I think it's partially of the feeling of time, of like just being like, I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
So like, let's do this or not. And I'm really trying to work on that. And just generally, I don't think it affects our relationship as much, but generally I think I'm a very like passionate, fiery person.
Very passionate, yes.
And so I'm trying to be like, okay, I need more ice cream or like cooling things to
I love it.
Not get amped up about the
Mm-hmm.
state of the world and shit like that and let that bleed into my relationship because I'm like, fuck everything.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that's definitely changed.
I love that. Okay.
Ooh, my tummy is
We're
hungry.
hungry. It's about that time.
Yeah.
What is love?
Oof, this one was hard.
Yeah, this was hard,
again,
actually.
doing this 8 years, and you would think this would get easier, and it's not.
No.
I really think for me, love is an act of putting somebody else over your own self.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that as like, hey, just like you said, give of yourself so much that you're not thinking of yourself. But I think of it as like an act where somebody else's happiness trumps your inconvenience even.
That's a good way.
So I think of love in all the different forms. I think of like my parents and me waking up in the morning or at night, because right now they're in India. It's like I have to call them at a certain hour at night. I'm exhausted, but I'm like, call your parents, check in on them. And then I call them, and I'm like, hey, you good? Do you need anything? Blah, blah, blah. And even if it's inconvenient, I think of getting married to Luis, and I think of thinking of his happiness over my ego, not my happiness, my ego. And going like, for me, it's an act of love to think of someone else before all the negative things of ourselves. Yeah, I think that's my answer. I don't know.
Beautiful. I love it.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
It's a hard one to define.
Because love is fucking crazy.
It's hard to define. It's so hard. I mean, but it's also like deep feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think I think the only differentiator for me is that, like, why do we do one thing for one person versus another?
Right.
The people we love, why do we go above and beyond for them?
Right. I love it. And lastly, besides I love you, what 3 words do you want your partner to tell you?
My husband.
My husband and my man.
This has not changed.
Yeah.
You will still get me wet as fuck if you say I got you. I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Still to this day.
I love it too.
Just having somebody have your back. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. We've changed. In some ways not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And guys, please do that for yourselves. I'm curious, like, if you've been monitoring how you've changed, let us know if you have. Yeah. Listen, we'd be remiss not to say thank you, not also to our team members over the years.
Yes.
Guys, you don't know all the people who make this show, but I want to shout out some of them.
Yeah, please.
Adam Pineless.
Woo.
Adam is our audio engineer. He's been with us, oh my gosh, since like episode 87, maybe.
It's been a minute.
A long time. He makes us sound great. He's handled us over Zooms when we were in the pandemic and, all of that now. So shout out, Adam. Thank you for everything. And before that, Thank you to Mason.
Oh,
Mason
Mason.
Booker. He was so great. He was our first engineer and producer from Meltdown
TBT.
Comics. Thank you, Meltdown Comics, for giving us our first home. Thank you, Starburns Audio. Thank you, Jason, R.I.P., who really supported us over there. Hadrious is our video editor. So thank you for
shout out
for making us look good.
Yes.
And he's become a bit of like a little brother over the years. He started also as a fan of the podcast. Like two other people who were part of our team, which is Karina Uribe.
Yes.
Who also helped us as a producer for a long time. And Jenna Ribbing, she was also with us for a long time. So thank you guys, because we couldn't have done a lot of
it's true.
the back end work without you. And then we also had Ritu for a little time. So thank you guys. I mean, it's just, it takes a team.
It does. It really does.
Yeah. And we are very cognizant of that. So all those people help make this happen and help us to help you.
Yeah.
So, we're not dying though. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So we're not dead yet, knock on wood. But you can find us.
Yes.
We
absolutely.
exist. So how can everyone find you, Aisha?
Everyone can find me at Aisha Says Dance across all social medias. That includes Red Note and Blue Sky. I'm literally everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
I'm there.
I know, I'm there too.
I'm there.
Guys, I will continue to do video content, whatever, just it might be like more advice to camera kind of stuff as we go along. But I would love for you to follow that journey and come to a stand-up show. That's a great way to meet me. But I'm only now mostly on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So I will be Instagram at Natasha Chandel, same with Facebook at Natasha Chandel, and TikTok, natasha.chandel. I am on all the other things, but I'm honestly not as active on it. So these are the places to find me. It's the places to find shows. I hope this year I'm touring. So that's like one of the things I need a time for also. So I hope to come to a city near you.
Yes.
I mean, we're kind of dating will always exist on social media. That kind of dating across the board. Check out all of our clips and videos. And I'm sorry, I will also be on YouTube. Natasha Chandel. I'll be posting a lot of video content there. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys for downloading this episode. If you like something you heard, tag us on social media, screenshot it, tag us there, and tell us how you feel. You want to do this with me?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Before we go, our last time, maybe for a while. I know it seems tough out there.
Seems tough out there.
But just try. Till next time.
Till next time.
Love you guys.
Bye.